Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Gen Politics. So, Candace Owens has now provided some solid evidence to the things she has been saying, which is that Charlie Kirk was breaking rank with the pro Israel lobby, with pro Zionists in general, and was arguing with his Jewish donors. She provided texts from a group chat Charlie Kirk was in, texts 48 hours before his assassination, which read, "Just lost another huge Jewish donor. $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." So clearly there's some discontentment with the pro-Israel movement, with his Jewish donors, and this gives a lot more credence to everything Candace has been saying about this, which is Charlie Kirk was turning on Israel. Now, people on the right, some people like Nick Fuentes and others are saying, oh, look, Charlie was breaking rank because he was losing the money. He supported Israel. He only stopped supporting them when he wasn't getting the money. Okay, well, for this conversation, I don't think it matters whether the chicken or the egg came first. I don't think it matters too much whether Charlie Kirk was losing donations because he was breaking with Israel or if he broke with Israel because he lost the donations. The important points in this conversation, what comes from these facts is A, Charlie Kirk was breaking rank with Israel. That is now an undisputed fact. And B, to everyone saying Israel was involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination, there is now a clear, definite motive for them to have done that. I'm not saying they did, but there's definitely a motive. And that motive is Charlie Kirk was the last bastion for support for Israel among the millennial generation and Generation Z. He was the most prominent speaker who still supported Israel. And in those two generations, they have almost completely turned against Israel. The entirety of the left is no longer a fan of Israel, and a growing portion of the right does not like Israel. And you were seeing that with students in Turning Point USA, people asking them questions constantly about Israel, our relationship, how it is not beneficial to the American people, how it's not America first. And so the last person who was really representing that group and trying to convince them to, be supportive of Israel, to be Zionists, was about to turn. And when he turned coat, probably the majority of his followers would have switched as well. And so then you would have no one in the millennial generation or Generation Z supporting Israel. And that is a ticking time bomb for Israel. That is just doomsday, because Israel cannot survive without the United States. It is not possible. They say, oh, we can go it alone. No, you can't. Israel is surrounded by enemies everywhere. Every single Middle Eastern country hates them. Now, a lot of them are not actively aggressive at the moment, but that's only because we are there to stop them as well. And so the second that we pull funding, we just say, we wash our hands and say we're done, Israel would be attacked by every one of their neighbors. And they say, oh, we could go it alone. They don't have the economy. They don't have the manufacturing. They don't have the people. They don't have the raw materials. They can't do it. And they don't have the allies either, because they've soured their relationship with literally every country on the planet. So the second the USA pulls our support for Israel is the death of Israel. That's probably the reality of the situation for them. So they need us, but you have a ticking time bomb of the boomers are really the last generation that support Israel predominantly, and then it goes down and down and down to the point where the millennials don't support, the majority do not support Israel. Same thing with Gen Z. And so you've got a ticking time bomb on your hands. You have what, 30, 20 years maybe left of support where you still have enough boomers and Gen X kind of voting for these policies, enough of those politicians still in office. And when the millennials take over, all that support, the funding, the missiles, everything dries up. So they're on a clock, and they're terrified because they can't have that happen. Like, this is not a left versus right issue. They can't, pivot from one political aisle to the other or shift it. It's a generational issue. And that just means that's just doomsday, because they will be aged out. The pro-Israel lobby in the United States, the pro-Israel politicians, the pro-Israel movement will just be aged out over time. And so if Charlie Kirk switch, that process would have been sped up and inevitable. And so that is the motive for Israel having killed Charlie Kirk. Whether that happened or not, first you look at what a motive there is, and there clearly was one. And so when Candace is saying these things and now is providing proof, we're going to see how much of this actually turns out to be true, because it's coming from her. We'll see if this is corroborated by anybody else, but this is pretty damning at the moment, and how deep this goes. And also, why is everybody lying about it? Why are people in that group chat saying that Charlie was never frustrated with Israel at all? He never had any complaints. She named some of the people in that chat who said there was never any problems with Israel or the Jewish donors, where Charlie literally from the horse's mouth was saying, I'm having problems with the Jewish donors. So you could say, oh, well, he didn't want to completely abandon Israel. He was just frustrated. He misspoke. But when they come out and say there was never, ever any problems, that's what's weird. That's what doesn't make any sense. And it seems like a clear cover-up of something, like they're hiding something. And the whole fact that this entire investigation has been bizarre, the answers we've received from the FBI, Turning Point, are just, none of it makes any sense. The story is weird, and when you're not given clear answers, that's where speculation runs wild. That's where you get people saying foreign governments are doing this, or there's multiple shooters, or it came out of the camera, or his mic, or whatever. And I'm not sure how much I buy into any of those specifically, but people are going to run wild if they don't get answers, and if the story presented by the FBI doesn't make any sense, and no one's actually trying to come out and say what really happened. I mean, Charlie Kirk's bones were made of adamantium, I guess. You could stop bullets in their tracks with just his skin. It was so powerful. None of that makes sense. And so when you have suspicious circumstances combined with a lack of answers and transparency, you get a conspiracy, and every piece of information that comes out seems to give more credence to that conspiracy. And so if you actually want to stop that, if you actually think that's not true, or if that is objectively not true, what they should do is be more transparent about what actually happened. See the ballistics, see the autopsy, actually know what happened. Like, what is going on here? Stop. Everybody needs to stop lying. And Candace, who did seem like she was losing it a little bit because she had not provided much to what she was saying, now has a lot more credence, which has bought her a lot more goodwill to continue with her theories and speculations. And it just turns more people away from everyone who said, no problems, there's nothing suspicious here, nothing going on, clear-cut case, which it isn't. So we'll just have to see what happens when more information comes out. But they can't keep hiding this forever. And this argument that Charlie Kirk was not frustrated with Israel, with his Jewish donors, is just now blatantly not true. To the extent of that and his relationship and how he actually was feeling, we'll have to get more about that throughout time, but something is fishy, and everybody knows something's fishy. And so when they're saying there's nothing wrong, don't even look at it or worry about it or think about it, that's when you should be the most concerned. So that's my thoughts on this. I appreciate Candace and her team and everybody finding this sort of information and releasing it. The speculation, people actually having mature conversations about the possibilities, because in order to have a conversation about speculation, some theories are going to be off the deep end. Some are going to be quite reserved. You have to have that open debate to actually get to the bottom of these things. Just blindly accepting a narrative presented by the federal government, probably not a good idea. And so you shouldn't believe everything you hear, but you should be skeptical, and you could think about it and say, is that even possible? Is that true? And like I said, there was a motive, and now there is some truth. So we'll see what happens. But if you made a way through the video, I appreciate it. If you like the content, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And thank you for watching.